we have experienced a revolution in lighting technologies. It has already occurred. I kind of talked to my philosophy on that and the implications it has for each of our systems, whether it's a tactical or outdoor system. If you're a police officer, things have changed for lights. If you ain't keeping up, time to update. Check out my Shedding Some Light video, and I talk more to the specifics and the implications of such changes. You'll see the annotation there on the screen. Too much information to include here. These are those excellent Fenix lights, AA versions. This is the L2D. This is the L1D. I have reviews separately on each of these excellent lights. No, they are not the only good lights out there. Fenix is a brand that at this point I know and trust. I have, heck, many months of hard use with both of these lights in the out of doors, in my military job, and my law enforcement function. They rock. I trust them. Other good brands of lights, of course, the Surefire, albeit overpriced, the O-Light, and maybe the Nightcore series. They're all excellent. And the brands will change as the years go by. Will Fenix still be making lights in 10 years? Don't know. Who knows? And the technologies will change. In a lot of ways, these ultra cool lighting products are a snapshot in time, and it's a perishable technology. You'll see newer technologies, maybe brighter lights, longer run times, hopefully different power sources that last longer than what we have now, while still offering the same level of performance. That will be intriguing. But like I said, I think the revolution in lighting technology has come, and there's no reason really to delay any longer to upgrade your lighting, especially if you're stuck with something old, an old incandescent light, maybe a mag light of some sort, or I don't know, xenon powered light. These ones pretty much blow it away on all fronts. Not going to really discuss the features of these AA version Fenix lights. In this video, instead, we're going to talk about its bigger brother, not really bigger, but different power brother, and that's because it uses a different power source, the Fenix P3D Delta. These are very capable lights. I said as much, gave you lots of details and specifics and showed them to you. Great lights, very proven. Now this Fenix P3D uses a different power source, a better battery if you were to ask me. Specifically, a CR, Surefire calls theirs CF. It's a 123 cell lithium battery, and this is a very trustworthy power source, especially for tactical, and no kidding, I really need a light outdoor functions. I love this power source, very proven, especially in cold weather. I'm kind of jumping ahead in, how you doing, my talking points, and we're going to talk about the P3D and its capabilities. A little bit more capable, even above and beyond the Fenix L2D. We'll start off with size and weight, and I'm going to bring back the L2D. Sorry for all the nomenclatures. They're kind of complicated. For you guys that don't know these lights, it sounds confusing, and I'm empathetic. L2D, L1D, P3D, at first is like, man, I can't keep them straight. And yeah, I'm a kind of a technical dude, so I can imagine non-flashlight people, you have a hard time. Stay with me though, we kind of have to call them by their right names so you can look them up on the web and order them if you decide they're going to fit your system needs adequately. Here's the size of the Fenix L2D. In that video, on the specific review video, I talked about how I like that longer length. That is longer. In a lot of ways, it's more ergonomic, especially if you tuck this into a knife pocket, a dedicated flashlight pocket for you law enforcement and military types. It's easier to retrieve. It's easier to hold. As you can see, the P3D is much shorter. And that's a good and bad scenario. The good is that because it's more compact, it's going to travel well, it's going to take up less space in perhaps a pocket or a pouch, maybe even a backpack. That's good. However, maybe not as ergonomic, just depends on where your point of view is coming from, since it is a shorter overall length. For me, my 2 cents, I don't really have I can't lie. I do kind of have a preference for the longer L2D. I like the length of it. It's easier to use to point just slightly. The P3D, though, its overall shortness also has a great advantage which I'm going to discuss when we come to versatility. And I got to cook on this review because I want to make it a single parter, and there's a lot to discuss on it. How's the weight on them? Well, naked, and I call it naked, without batteries or anything else attached to it, the P3D is 3 ounces. That's pretty good. The L2D, not really, it's a direct competitor, is, if I'm mistaken, 3.8 ounces, so just slightly heavier. Bottom line is, in the size and weight category, the P3D is amazingly compact and amazingly small and transportable for a 2 123 cell torch or flashlight. And that gives you a lot of capabilities in a very tiny package. Love that. How's the construction on the lights? Well, again, I talked in great detail about the other Fenix lights, and it's no different. It has a very durable Type 3 hard anodized finish, really tough, but it's not impermeable. As you can see, it will chip, as I showed you in previous vids, but overall, great finish. Tough glass lens with anti-reflective coating on it. You can see that stippled or textured reflector. We'll talk about that under beam. It's O-ring sealed, and it meets that IPX-8 waterproof standard. And what is that again? Real quick, 12 feet for 24 hours static water pressure. In other words, not dynamic. If you're moving around, swim with it, that's dynamic. Static water pressure, I think you will find the P3D, just like its brethren there in the lineup, are going to be quite waterproof for you in non-diving functions. Again, nothing fancy says, dudes, if you need a dive light, get a dive light. But overall, the construction is super high quality, super well put together. And that's not different. I mean, years ago, it's almost humdrum to talk about this with these higher quality lights. And things have changed a lot. I mean, 10 years ago, if you were talking about this, it'd be an issue because there were a lot of lights that maybe didn't meet this quality as standard. Another thing I like is that flush mounted tail cap. See that? So it's not exposed, and that is a little bit different against, this is the TK10, also an excellent Fenix light. I'll do a separate review sometime. See how that switch is exposed? I guess the thinking was there for quicker actuation. In reality, it kind of results in inadvertent actuation, in my opinion. I like a recessed switch, and I'll talk more about that perhaps in future videos. Construction, outstanding overall, on par with all the ultra quality lights that are out there, I think. How about beam dispersion? Well, let's turn the light off and we'll talk briefly about this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I've spent some on other videos. There's your beam on the P3D. It's excellent. I'm in general mode now. One more tap, and I'm kind of getting into the switchology. I'll talk about that in a second. That is a nice, smooth beam. You see there's no artifacts in there. Artifacts are shadows or ghost patterns or halos or distracting rings, which kind of detract from the beam's effectiveness. If we go over to turbo mode, man, that's even brighter. Nice, clean pattern. Now in contrast, let me go back to general mode here. I'm in low general mode now. Let me roll in this light. Let me introduce it to you under the light here so you can see it. This is my old UKE Underwater Kinetics 2L light. This is a CR123 powered incandescent xenon bulb light. I showed you this in my extended stay backpacking video. This is a good light. It has served me well for a number of years. However, it is the old technology. It's the old guard. This is the new guard. Let's look at the differences in beams, and I'll use this to kind of discuss those artifacts and whatnot. There you can see the old style xenon beam. This is actually, for what it is, a very concentrated and effective beam for such a lightweight and compact CR123 powered flashlight. But as I twist the beam, you can see all the detractors there from the beam quality. These are the artifacts I'm talking about. On the flip side, it does have a very concentrated and well culminated beam in the center, but not so much of a spill beam. And again, that spill beam, here comes the P3D. There's medium, there's general high mode. You can see even in general high mode, it blows that little UKE light out of the water, and then it gets into the spill beam. See that spill beam, how effective it is? In other words, a spill beam is this exterior portion where we can also use for illumination. And the center culminated portion will go out to range. And I'll talk about that in a sec. So overall, I'm very, very happy with the beam on the P3D. Now, compared to other lights, and I don't want to get into a big comparison fest because it just takes so much video time. There's a L2D, and I think that one's in turbo mode. There we go. General mode, general high. Oh, that's SOS. Trying to get them in the same modes, and I don't know the battery states one versus the other. So there's L2D on the left, that's general high mode, P3D on the right, general high mode. Also, you can reference my Nut and Fancy tactical clinic when I took these lights out and was showing them at range, so you can see how they project. Nice though, and that L2D is a good light. You can see it puts out a lot of light. One thing I have noticed, and I have two P3Ds here. Here's one in a gun mount I'm going to discuss. This is the one that's out. The one on the left actually has a wider beam, and there are different levels of the Cree LEDs. Now again, I'll refer you to Candle Power forums if you want to find out details. I do not have the time or the inclination to cover them all because it will be boring for most users. If you want to know all about the iterations of the Q5 Cree 7090 LEDs that these two lights use, go for it, and the different batches. Suffice it to say, this one here just has a slight green tint to it. This one here on the left, a little bit brighter white. But both of them are very serviceable, and it's more of a nuisance and really doesn't detract from the overall usefulness. So there's your beam, just down and dirty. Excellent, great dispersion. But let me talk this point now, the throw. The Fenix L2D, I think, is kind of a 50-meter light. And I'm talking throw here for tactical purposes. Tactical means, I'll just say life-saving purposes, whatever that is. Let's say that instead of tactical. Maybe you're, I don't know, trying to rescue a drowning dog. By the way, been there, done that. And this is the very light that I use to effect that rescue, the UKE2L. Maybe I'll tell you about that sometime. But this light would have served nicely. This one even better, because the Fenix P3D has even better throw. I will call it about a 75-meter light. Some guys will say 100 meter. I think that's a little bit optimistic. I find the culmination and the tightness of that beam throw out to range is a little bit better than the Fenix L2D. Again, you can reference those comparison vids, even though they're not super high quality. I had a bad camera back then. I prefer the P3D for that purpose. That's not to say that the P3D throws like perhaps the TK10. The TK10 has a bigger reflector, and it's going to produce a more culminated beam, and that will throw to range better. And that's indeed what happens between these two lights. But overall, for the size and weight, amazing throw, amazing beam dispersion. The brightness levels on this are also very impressive. In turbo mode, the P3D, and it depends on which specification sheet you read, manufacturer variety, but the one I've read is 215 lumens. Now again, I'm not the end-all flashlight expert. I don't put these under a lumen indicator and do my own tests. I don't have the time, guys. So I'm just going to go off manufacturer specifications. 215 for turbo mode, and let me show you the modes as we go. Again, sorry for the light. Here's turbo mode. Turbo mode is accessed by rotating the bezel counterclockwise. Bam, there's turbo mode right there. And yeah, that's bright. 215 lumens. Then if we go to general mode, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to the switchology of the switch, I rotate the bezel slightly to clockwise position. There's general low. And by the way, that'll run about 65 hours at 12 lumens. And then if we go to general medium, I tap the back of the switch, just tap it, don't click it, and make sure I did that right. I'll talk about the switch. There's general medium right there. That's 53 lumens, 13 hours according to the manufacturer. And then we go general high, 120 lumens, 4.8 hours. Now, of course, those numbers are going to vary depending on your temperature, the state of the battery, that type of thing, so it's subject to change, but you get a good idea that this is a pretty darn bright light, especially in that turbo mode. I mean, it really puts it out, and a very effective light, and I'll tell you why that's effective here in a minute. So great brightness, great throw, good runtime. Notably, you'll find that a lot of battery or flashlights that use the CR123 power source do not run for a long time. And I'm specifically slamming the older technology, the xenon technology. They go through 2 of these batteries sometimes in as little time as 60 minutes. And that blows. So I'll show you 2 of those right now. Here's some Surefire lights. There's a 900 series weapon light. There's a 500 series weapon light. I believe they're both incandescent lights, and these suckers go through batteries. I'm not going to quote the times to you, but suffice it to say, they don't last a long time. You're not going to have that problem, as I just showed you, with the P3D. It is an efficient LED technology. It is digitally regulated, so it's going to maximize that power source for as long as it possibly can, smooth the output so it looks smooth, and it's not going to be a quivering beam, I like to call. So outstanding runtime. Modes and switchology, I just kind of went over those a little bit. You saw that. Some guys are going to find all the Fenix lights to be a little bit complicated. Again, I think you should just spend some time with it. You know, get to know your switch, and you'll like it. Again, it's a tactile, clicky switch. I like that. Just like so. And there's that general mode. I ain't going to go through them. I just did it. By the way, getting back to construction, I think I mentioned the lanyard that comes with it. By the way, here's your spare parts kit that comes with basically every Fenix light, spare tail cap switch, 2 O-rings. There's your lanyard. And remember, I showed you in other videos that if you use the holes provided, sometimes that lanyard will cut through on itself, and that's why you have a stainless steel split ring from Fishing Tackle that I put on all my Fenix lights, and that's what I use to affix my lanyard. I know you can probably do, one of my viewers was saying, a figure 8 pattern through there, and it'll help prevent the fraying of that one, little lanyard. But for me, I don't trust it. I'm going to use a mil-spec lanyard, and that's how I'd attach it, and then I don't ever have to worry about it busting. So you saw the modes. One thing I didn't mention is it does have that SOS mode, and the way we enter that is we just go to general mode, and it's at the end of general mode. What it does is we'll just continuously flash SOS. I think that's a dubious, I don't know, utility. If we go over to turbo and SOS mode, I'm sorry, turbo and strobe mode is what I'm trying to say. There's turbo, and if we soft touch the back of the switch one time, we enter strobe mode. And actually, in my previous vids, I was like, I don't know if that's really helpful. But for signaling, it could be good. You know, if you want to have someone find you. I've been trying to use it to induce a seizure with Bucket Nester. Still trying, not working. I'm kidding there, by the way. Hey, if you're a military guy, do not use this mode with white light because it looks like gunfire. It'd be a great way to attract some gunfire right on top of your position. Heads up. Heard about it happening. Versatility. Lots to say about the P3D versatility wise. I think it is an ideal weapons light. No kidding. That it has a huge advantage over those Surefires I just showed you in size and weight alone. I mean, it's a 3-ounce light. It's very short, it's very compact, and it's very cost effective too. I mean, this thing, again, I hate to say cost, but around $50. And compared to these lights right here, dudes, it's night and day. I mean, those, I've never dug those overly complicated, overly expensive and heavy weapons lights. Never have. However, a lot of people like them. For me and my money, I say a P3D can function pretty much on the same level as most of those lights. Now, does that mean it's going to compete, you know, neck and neck and throw in brightness? Maybe so, maybe not. Depends on what light you're putting it up against. But again, 3 ounces, short, compact, has a simple tactile clicky switch on the back. To me, it's a great weapons light. It functions in an ideal fashion. And the way I attach them to a gun is with a simple scope ring shimmed up with a plastic notebook like so. And you can see that it's just a plastic school notebook that I've cut out some shims with, wrapped it to the correct diameter, cinched it down in a high quality aluminum lightweight scope ring, and then you can attach that on a very short tactical rail on the side of your gun. That is a system that works, guys. I know because I've used it. And heck, for 50 bucks, add in the cost of a scope ring, you got a weapons light, and it works. And this is recoil proof, adequately bright, has some good modes to it. I mean, there you have it, weapons light, P3D, and in versatility, that is probably the key advantage, I think, of this light. Otherwise, you could use it as a signaling torch. This is the addition that you can put on from Fenix, just like so. I don't know if I've shown you this one. This is kind of their wand, their lighted red wand. That's cool, and it functions just like a Asylum stick, doesn't it? Isn't that cool? Very nice. And I showed you the white ones as well. That functions well. You have a red lens you can slap on there, just like so. Although be advised, this red one is kind of sized for an L2D. It's loose on a P3D. I don't know if they make one specifically for the P3D. I looked for it. I might have missed it. But what I do is when I put that red on there, in order to keep it from getting lost, I'll put a little bit of duct tape on the head. Speaking of that head, the company again advises not to go into turbo mode for extended periods of time, but I kind of think that's overplayed. I wouldn't worry about it too much. These are 50,000 hour rated LEDs, these Q5s, and dudes, that's a long time. Another advantage of it. Other versatility, you can use it as a bike light, and it's got that headlamp. The P3D will fit in that just like the L1D and the L2D. Fits in there perfectly. And by the way, I should have said headlamp. I mean head assembly, so you can make it into a headlamp. This rocks. I'll do a separate review on it. So great versatility. Track record, like I spoke to, is excellent, and the P3D has done nothing to disappoint me yet. There's some other great lights out there. P3D by Fenix is not the only one. One would be maybe the Olight T20 right there. It is a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, a little bit more expensive. It does have the added advantage, though, of having a memory function. In other words, when you turn that light off, it remembers what mode it was in. That's huge. I like that. I wish the Fenix ones did that. They might do it in future models. And the reason I like that is because it makes the light simpler. I kind of blew past that. That switchology that I showed you takes a little bit getting used to, but one thing I would like is when I turn the light off, it goes right back to the mode I had. And I guess the Olights do that indeed. So other than that, great track record, and that gives us the cost and value. And yeah, I'm over time already. P3D, outstanding value for what it is. Around 50 bucks. Everything else, more expensive, but still an extremely high value light, and especially if you put it in the role of weapon light, I think it's money well spent. There you have it. P3D, it's a CR123 powered light, more brightness, more capabilities, even than the excellent L2D lights. Awesome. Nothing fancy.